let's get into it right now. Listen, we have Annie, Chris, Mello. Let's go. We're gonna get into the fitness moguls that you all are, but before we get into that whole piece of it, how did y'all get here?
It was her fault. Originally, it was her fault.
Happy wife, happy life.
So true. It's so true.
That's what they say. Tell me about it though. How did you get here, and so you're to blame for this?
I am. So my mom was a single mom. So we moved to LA when I was 2.
Okay.
But my family is from Sioux Falls.
Okay.
So my grandparents always lived here. They always had their residency. So in the summers, instead of going to daycare all summer in Los Angeles, I got to go live with my grandparents in Sioux Falls.
Yeah.
So I always had this special place. I joke like you can take the girl out of the Midwest, but you can't take the Midwest out of the girl. And loved big city living. I mean, that's all I knew. I grew up there. But there was something so special about being able to just be a kid during the summers. Mm-hmm. And so I met Chris in college in Cal State Fullerton, Orange County, California. Yeah. And he's born and raised OC kid.
Okay.
Yeah.
She really did a number on you.
So people thought I was nuts, dude. Yeah. So I'll tell everyone, people in California think Sioux Falls or South Dakota is North Dakota, and they associate the movie Fargo, where it snows 9 months out of the year.
Yes.
And a lot of times it feels like it, but they don't really know what Sioux Falls is really like. Yeah. So
yeah. And we
most
love
people
that.
still think like we're in covered wagons and stuff like that.
Do you guys have a Starbucks?
Yes.
It's incredible.
I
they don't know what Hy-Vee is, I'm like, remember Mark Wahlberg? He's a part of Hy-Vee,
Yeah,
so they don't get it. They don't get it.
I'm just happy I have a 6-pack because I can do laundry.
Right.
Just wash it off, hang it out to dry.
Flex. That's a flex right there. So you guys meet in college.
Yeah.
You have a connection significant enough to get you full-time Cali kid out here to South Dakota.
Funny story, he was my trainer.
Oh.
Yeah. We met at the gym.
She pursued me though. She pursued
met in
respect
school, but so yeah, we met, and then he joked that it was the only person he knew that could outlast him in the gym because we were both just gym rats. And so we ended up getting married in 2007, moving to Santa Monica, California. That was his dream, living on the beach, working out all day, training on the beach.
Yes.
I felt like I was like semi-retired at 20 years old. It was awesome.
Yes.
But then in 2008, there was something called a recession that hit very rapidly in California. And I had been toying with it. I was working, the LA way, 4 jobs, as you know, as a New York kid, like 4 jobs, hustling, trying to make ends meet to pay for a 600 square foot apartment that we couldn't fit in the same bathroom together. Although we had a lot of fun times now that you look back at it, But so I started looking at houses. I had taken my internship for college here at KSFY. And although it was only 6 weeks, I just love the community and the people. And I think that is the biggest misconception is we do have a city feel and a vibe here.
Yes.
But you have that great Midwestern, I'll shake your hand and it's a done deal. And you're not trying to get anything from me. You just literally want to know how I'm doing.
Yes.
And I've thrived off of that. And so just being here was very comfortable and warm to my heart. So I started to tell Chris, like, he had never left Orange County. All of his family, the furthest anyone lives is San Diego.
Okay.
So literally now his brother and sister live within 800 meters of each other in Huntington Beach. And it's great. So I said, why don't we just try this? You've never been out of California. You never left for college. If we don't like it, always, even to this day, you can always go back.
For sure.
But why don't we just try? Because if you don't try, then you really don't know
right.
if it's great or not. So, yeah, we packed up our little car and
the Maxima, the Nissan
Maxima, and moved to Sioux Falls.
See, the thing about that's so exciting for me is like, first of all, I think everybody should take a walkabout.
Yes.
Go see part of something. For me, I was coming to Sioux Falls, so I was never in that group that was desperately trying to escape it. Because I was kind of escaping to it. And so I think that was the thing for me. But that story of people packing up stuff, going to a place, and at least for you, unknown, and saying, we're going to plant the flag, we're going to make something happen here. Now, you all came here and you didn't just try to come and just work at a place or whatever. You came and you brought this kind of idea of, holistic fitness, which we'll get into as deep as you want to, but that's a heavy lift in Sioux Falls, South Dakota at that time, right? We are meat and potatoes. We hibernate for like 3.5 months. There's like a good chunk of time we are not trying to go outside. Most people drive. We're not super pedestrian. Our bike scene is just now developing and those type of things. And when we're talking 2008, 2009, that culture just was not there. Late on the CrossFit culture, late on the dynamic lifting culture. And you decided that you wanted to bring that type of thought process, that type of situation. What in the world were you thinking?
I think we weren't, which is why I think it's the greatest
Ignorance
blessing
is bliss.
ever.
Yes. Ignorance is bliss.
We just only knew what we knew, you know? Like, we didn't even look at demographic. We didn't even probably know the city population. I just saw houses that were $150,000 that I could actually like spread my feet out in.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw rent for gym spaces. And we just thought, I think, it is. It's ignorance is bliss. Let's just go and do this. I remember Chris saying when we found our first spot over off Saratoga Park, it was 1,000 square foot box, industrial area. And he's like, well, you know, if we don't find anyone, we'll have a hell of a workout place for a year. And it was really Field of Dreams. Like, if you build it, they will come, right?
I love it though. Like, that's my energy where all of that stuff is a thing. And I think as I mature as a business owner, I always feel responsible telling people who are new into the space, hey, be thoughtful about this, be thoughtful about that. But really, what has happened in my mind, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm there. Because it's always strange for me when I talk to people and they talk about their plans and they're always timid about their plans, like they don't account for their participation. Mm-hmm. They're trying to figure out how something's going to work, but it's like, of course it's going to work. I'm doing it. I'm going to make it work. And that's just the only thing that's in my mind. And I realize it's not that for everyone. And I do feel responsible to tell people, hey, be thoughtful about your customer acquisition costs and your blah, blah. But at the end of the day, for me, if you're in it, it doesn't.
I'm reading your sweatshirt. It says, be you, they'll adjust. It's true. Like, and I know we talk about leadership, but everything starts with you. Yeah. From start to finish. And we found this fitness concept that we were so in love with personally that we just wanted to grow and develop. And all we wanted to do was just share it with other people. And if people got it, they're going to get it. If we got it, we know other people can get it. And then it's like, how good can we get at this? Is how good we can grow this. Yes. I mean, that's really what it came down to. It was just like, we saw this thing, we wanted to do it. We would have done it for free. A lot of times we did. Yeah. Because you know the life of an entrepreneur. Yep. 75% of the time you're completely underpaid. And so 25% of the time you can get completely overpaid is kind of the rule. So like you hit the hard knocks, but we wanted to do this anyway. And why we wanted to bring it. So everything in Sioux Falls just had a green light. Everything was a green light. When we got here, we sold a car, we cashed an IRA, and that's what we used to start up our business. It was crazy.
Same thing for us. We liquidated everything, you know, especially me, because we wanted to make moral decisions. And you can't make moral decisions with other people's money. Mm-mm. And so it's super uncomfortable. But that pull of saying, like, I get to decide, you know, that I get to follow values and principles or whatever it is, and I don't have to, you know, kiss a ring or anything like that.
I call it red tape, man. There's no red tape.
That's like, worth it for me. Yes. I'm gonna be honest with you, really. Like we were just talking. You all haven't really spent time in the corporate environment where Tamien and myself has, and like I know, like I'm blessed by having that experience because it's so crystal clear to me that it's just not. It's a no-go.
And we get to learn from other people like you.
Yeah.
That was the route that was not for us, you know. So it's kind of like both sides of the coin, you know.
I was just actually talking to a client of mine who's done very well for themselves, and I was like, you know, sometimes you wonder, is like all the stress of business ownership, we both bring it home every night. You know, I get his problem, so then I sympathize and empathize more. And he looked at me, he goes, you wouldn't want it any other way. Trust me.
Man.
As he can write any check he wants. He's like, it doesn't mean nothing.
He's telling the truth.
And he is.
You know, I'm around so many, you know, especially coming from where I come from, the access to people of this level of success that I have access to now, you just wouldn't have ever thought that I would have access to these type of folks. and spending time with these folks. I mean, like, I just realized how often people were warning me. They're like, hey, man, you know, and I listen to people, you know what I mean? After a while, I start putting it together, and I start realizing, like, man, this stuff is only useful if, number one, if you get to use it.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of people I know that are full in that rat race, they don't ever get to really access that stuff. And when they do, they have to clean out so much gunk that it's like intensive therapy and not really relaxing or anything like that. So that changed it for me. But for you all, when we talk about the fitness piece of it and wanting to create that here, even though it was difficult, even though it was, you know, against a lot of odds, because now we have the luxury of looking at the landscape right now, and it's a very different landscape. There's a lot of different options, things that, again, even in 2008, 2009, yoga, bar, all these things that just seemed like frou-frou, hippie, bohemian stuff now are pretty standard. What was the philosophy? What was the thought process? What was that initial journey like, setting up that box, going from if you build it, they will come, to being really significant in the space? What was that journey like?
Well, go ahead, you go.
I mean,
she's the opener.
I can say for sure, Chris always, we had a client recently asked him, what would you do if you didn't do this? And he said, I would die.
Hello.
And so it's because I'm not going to not do this.
It's a bar.
So I think when you get really clear with the people that you want to touch, and from the start, I believe it was definitely a God sent to us to come to Sioux Falls and make an impact and show people that you can move your body in half the time and learn how to actually like pick something up off the floor properly. Yes. And live your best life as you continue to age and not be traditional Western civilization and get worse.
Yes.
And I think that we were just talking in a language people had never heard before.
Yeah.
But as a godsend, they were ready for it.
Yeah.
And timing is everything. Preparation is key, but timing is everything. And it was timing plus perseverance plus really knowing and engaging our avatar is what I like to call it, which at that time was probably like the 26 to 40-year-old that, you know, you left sports, you were bored. Who wants to run on a freaking treadmill for an hour?
Praise Jesus.
You know, you had no camaraderie, no fun.
Yeah.
And we were like, what if we can create this environment of adult recess?
Yes.
But people are getting better. They're hitting goals. I'll never forget, Vaney, I ran track in high school. And one of my goals was to be able to run a 400 faster than I did in high school. And at 28 years old, because I was stronger, I could run faster than I had ever. And I was like, whoa. So I think because we were our own guinea pigs and we were in the lab just like you and Tamian. It's like we're learning, we're experiencing, and now we're able to be like, yeah, I've been through this. Yeah, I know this hurts. It wasn't just, and there's nothing wrong with this, but we grew up in the globo gym sector. We worked in many different 24-hour fitness, Equinoxes, and
corporate. It was fitness. It was corporate fitness.
It's a lot of people that are just seeing the attraction of being a trainer, but not really living, breathing, experiencing it. And I think that we had the opportunity to do that. And one thing that Chris and I always get as a compliment is you guys are very authentic. And you can tell that you practice what you preach.
Yes.
And as you dive more and more in the fitness game, I'm sure in your game as well, it's a lot of fake fitness.
Well, it's being a nerd. Like you're in the era where like that is a compliment now. You know what I mean? Where like I want to work with nerdy people.
Yes.
I want to get in the weeds about stuff. I want people who are like eat, sleep, breathe it. And I definitely got that vibe from you because I think I met you first, and then I came to the gym when you guys were first setting up, I think, or early in the process. And it was around 2011 or 2011 or something like that for me. And I was just shy of 300 pounds when I started on just kind of a new journey. Like you said, I had been out of sports, I had been out of stuff. I was just out of my whatever. The week my bachelor party before I got married. I found out that I was type 2 diabetic, like, pre-hypertension, all the stuff. And being a black male, I'm predisposed for everything. You know what I'm saying? And so I had to get my act together. And in the period of time between boxing and working with you all, I lost probably 60 some pounds.
So cool.
But the big thing is like I got stronger. I hadn't really engaged a lot in Olympic lifting style and dynamic stretching. That's one of the things that I really got from you. And particularly where you can stretch for strength versus, it felt it felt willy-nilly type of thing. But when you are stretching for strength, it felt different. And those type of principles, and then even, of course, nutrition and that type of stuff. But those principles are like really core to a person being able to experience life at a certain level, And for me, what I even have to remind myself sometimes is like when I yo-yo over this 5 or 10 pounds, or I can't break through this last 20 or last 30, I got to remember that I've never been back to that 60. I've never been back over that. And so I have to remind myself of that all the time. But just in the ability to be able to move and conduct business the way that I want to, and to be able to travel, be sitting in planes, to be able to do all of those things, how important some of those just core elements are to just quality of life. Talk to me about that piece of it, because again, it's one thing to look aesthetically good. It's one thing to be in the trend. It's one thing to have your Instagram popping. It's another thing to be able to get out of bed and walk to the bathroom and not click.
It's energy, right? That's all it is. I mean, people have to understand like nutrition, calories is a unit of energy. You know what I mean? Good calories, bad calories, carbs, proteins, fats, all the diets. It's all just tools. I mean, what's the job, And for somebody that wants to just live a higher quality of life, they have to just learn how to like get more out of their body, And strength is energy, nutrition is energy, stretching can help you move better. It's like, how do you optimize your body? You treat your body like a business, or treat your body like a machine, to where how can you optimize every day?
Yes.
So that you can get the most out of your day. And like a big thing now is we've matured as business owners, and who do we help? And we have this term called corporate athlete, you know what I mean? And like the number one thing that we come across now for people is, they want to lose weight. Yeah, they want to look better. Yeah, they want to have a better quality life, but stress is like the big thing right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mental stress, physical stress, chronic stress. And the best way to have a mental transformation is to have a physical transformation. So we really are now taking all these tools and principles that you were just mentioned and spin it to where you can handle more stress, or you can handle the stress you have today. But if you train your body like an athlete, and you nourish your body like an athlete, if you stretch like an athlete, you adopt the mentality and the mindset of an athlete, you can handle future stress.
Yeah.
So instead of like running away from stress, you can actually stand up to stress, and you can make yourself stronger against future stress. And so all these primitive principles are never going to go away.
Yeah.
They say that the principle remains the same, but the strategy needs to change.
For sure. That idea of the corporate athlete, I'm super, super, super into that. I love that idea, because that, not just the physical piece of it, but the camaraderie piece of it, the intensity piece of it. When people leave sports, for the most part, they miss the locker room, they miss the camaraderie, they miss whatever, being intense. And a lot of times, in a business sense, that intensity is passive aggressive, it's dog eat dog, it's not fruitful, it's generally not healthy in a lot of those type of office environments and things of that nature. And I think the way a lot of people really want to think of themselves is as that athlete, somebody that's dynamic, that's mobile, that's powerful, that's capable, that's able to do different things and accomplish things. And that mindset, I think, is just a unique mindset, and it's one that goes back to the beginning of time. We had to be athletes way before we were scholars, way before we were business people. You had to be able to run from this tiger, jump over that thing.
Survival of the fittest.
You know what I mean? Yep. The fittest.
Totally.
You know what I mean? And there's just something to that that's just so powerful, and I think it touches so many things. And again, it's such a key to quality of life. When you talk about that mental piece of it, the stress piece of it, that's one of the things that we're really interested in. Mental health is something we're putting all our chips in on.
Mm-hmm.
For us, I always try to tell people, Think 3D and the training that we do and all those other type of things is what we do, but it's not what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
What we're doing is trying to make the best community, live the best lives, have the best environment that we can. To do that, we do some of this, some of that, some of this, some of that, some of this, some of that. So most people who look at our business plan have no idea what we actually do, but it's all to the end of creating the best environment possible. And as we have been getting in these nooks and crannies and talking to all these people that socially were perceived as being successful, and we saw the weight that was on these people, the lack of empathy for these people, sometimes the lack of joy for these people, and healthy relationships with these people, it breaks my heart. And I'm so passionate about affecting those folks and coming for those folks. So talk to me about that piece of it, particularly the mental piece, and even your walk in it, and how that has affected you and how that drives you to be able to affect that particular piece of it.
I think people need to find motivation in life now. And we always use this term of you overestimate the short term and underestimate the long term. You know, we think, oh, we'll do a 30-day fix and then everything will be fixed. And what I try to teach, especially with my nutrition clients, all of my clients, is let's have a win every time you leave here. And wins are small. You know, you don't make $1 million in a year by saving $1 million in a year. You make it by putting $3,000 a month away and then compound interest over time. And that's what we're trying to teach these people, is leaving here with a win. So where are you at today? And I know you and Tamian do the same thing. Where are you at? So I'm not going to throw a bunch of stuff at you. Remove gluten, don't eat dairy. You know, it just feels overwhelming and another weight on your shoulder that you aren't doing right. And so what Chris and I really like to do is, we call it a coach for life. Like, I want to be your coach. And today, 3 months from now, 6 months from now, like I think about as I was dealing with having twins 2 years after, I'm sleep deprived. I can't, you know, working out is like basically movement. I'm going to lose my shit at every, you know, I'm trying to run a business still. My training is going to be a lot different. And I needed, thank goodness I have him in a community that supports me saying, you're showing up. That's enough. Like, you're moving. You know, and I think that's what people miss. The hardest part is walking in the door, because whoever leaves the gym in our community base, same as you guys, whoever leaves a training feeling like, I wish I wouldn't have gone to that. Never. You only regret that you didn't go.
That's the realest thing ever. It really is. It's because sometimes it is tough to get moving there. And I have internal dialogues. It's like, bro, you know what you're supposed to do. Why are you not doing all of these things in your mind? And sometimes it's just like for instance, I always tell people when I start, especially if it's the psychology that I have to overcome. It's just so significant for me, and I spend a lot of time in it. But like, I have to start by doing things like, I can't say and or extra. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
That's where it starts.
The sugarcoat words, yeah.
Just eat the thing, like no extra things. Or just getting to the point where I'm saying to myself, like, leave something on the plate so I can counteract the clean your plate mentality in my mind or whatever. And then there's just the thing where it's like, I'm tired. You know what I mean? Like, I deserve to rest, but I'm not helping myself. I'm not doing right by myself. Talk about.
To interject with piggyback of what she said too, my favorite definition of self-confidence is keeping the promises that you make to yourself, big, little, or small. And then what we say about the best way to have a mental transformation is to have a physical, because two things you have total control over is what you put in your mouth and how you decide to move your body or not. So that's when people come into our community, they kind of leverage the coach, they leverage community, they leverage the resources and the systems that we have, and they get into the program and they start doing these things and continuing to start making and keeping promises they make to themselves. 6 months goes by, and not only do they look better, they have more energy, but they're a completely different person on the inside. Like, we would have these women come in, and I'm like, women aren't supposed to be doing pull-ups. And these women are doing 20, 30 pull-ups when they're tired. I'm like, they're like a physical transformation. And then they come off the workout and they're totally different. Their energy's different. Their positivity's different. They're proud of themselves. And so they have all this good feelings that now they want to like share with other people. They don't want to hide it. They want to share it. And that's like us. It's like, we do this stuff and it makes us feel so good on the inside that we want to just like, how can we 10X it? Give it to somebody else, share it with somebody else. You learn this, share this. I mean, the definition of learning is you've officially learned it when you've actually done it, but you can 10X that by sharing it is our thing. And so like when you get somebody on the hook, they start sharing it.
Yeah.
Game over, man. It's like, and the other thing too is like she was saying, it's like, it's not a 30-day fix. It's just like business. Just there's no finish line.
Right.
You just got to keep going and evolving and growing and just you always have the opportunity to learn who you are on the inside, and that's going to project how you look and present yourself on the outside.
We always think about, you know, in the Japanese culture and in particular, you know, where their business have 100-year plans. Like they fully expect to be around for centuries. And that's the mindset. And the thing about taking that mindset is that no one day is the end all be all. No one meal is the end all be all. No, when you're thinking long term, you don't fall apart when you know, did this type of thing where you slip or you fall or you make a mistake, because it's not all about this one moment where you crumble. It's about putting one foot in front of the other and continuing to move. And those are themes that work in every aspect of life. But I think, again, going back to when you think about the idea of fitness, just what that means to every aspect of the life, like you said, what you put in your body and how you move your body is just...
We like to call it non-negotiables. Mm-hmm. So it's movement, mentality, and nourishment. Mm. And hitting those 3 facets every day will make you a better version of yourself tomorrow. Yeah. So meaning 10 minutes of movement a day.
Yeah.
Breathe, stretch, drink baseline 80 ounces of water. You know, even that, like in the morning, I'll drink 30 ounces of water first thing. And it just gives me like the biggest brain clarity. Mm. It's like almost like I wash my face with ice cold water. Like I just get this euphoric feeling. And it's just from water.
I want to just challenge people, you know, if you have an idea you're struggling with or you can't produce it, like set it in your brain and get after it. Like what that does for my brain is incredible.
And then eat protein. Eat protein, you know? And if you do those 3 things, it will fix so many worlds of other problems. Mentally, physically, and emotionally, you know? So that's why I say break it back to basics. And, you know, Kobe always says somebody asked him, interviewed him, why don't you dribble with 3 balls and teach your girls to do all these fun tricks? He goes, because it's all about fundamentals. It's going back to the basics. Take 1 ball, dribble it consistently. And that's how I feel. You know, and that's where he and I really try to break it down so simplistically that people are like, that's it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, our role as a parent or a leader is just to make the big things look really small.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's where it's like, just focus on the basics. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's usually a big game because, like you said, we make everything over proportion. We overblow everything.
Yes.
When it's like, just be where your feet are. What can you control and what can you do right now?
And you guys probably have this too, Vaney. It's like just having someone say, I see you. Yeah. I feel you.
Recognize.
And how can I support you? Instead of, hey, do this, do this, do this. And then
we're not robots. We're not robots.
No, who are you today? One of my goals, and I don't know if it could ever be possible, but it's to have my client or members in a class come in and I'll know when they walk in the door. Bad day. Oh, they're happy. Life's going well. Well, they look a little stressed. Yeah. Because that will affect how I train them tremendously.
Yeah.
It might just be a walk and talking about what's going right now. Where are you stuck? How can we fix this? What are your goals for 2023? Why, what's causing all this stress and angst?
Well, for us, the realistic version of that is that they'll come in and they'll tell you. Mm-hmm. Because we are creating spaces where, like, it's not weird. And that's the thing that's the hardest thing for me is that it's something that we all know. Mm-hmm. And we said this at Culture Con a few years ago. It's like, why would you be afraid of people who are afraid of you? Half of the room is in here going through what the other half is going through, scared of the other half. It doesn't make sense. Like, it's not like we don't get it. It's not... Anybody who sees somebody with their kids, there's nobody under the impression that has kids that thinks that you want to be around your kids all the time. Why do you have to act like you want to be around your kids all the time?
Same.
I love my kids. I'm glad. Yeah, we get it. But you don't want to be around them all the time. Your spouse. You don't want to be around your spouse all the time. I don't want to be around. We all know this. Mm-hmm. Yes. I don't want to work all the time. We all know this. I don't feel good about myself all the time. We all know it. Everyone knows this. Mm-hmm. And anyone who participates in the human experience understands the human experience. So why in the world would we be pretending and posturing and hiding all these things for people that we all know we experience in one way or another? Mm-hmm. And when a community gets to put that down, and if somebody gets to walk in and say, I ain't got it today. Mm-hmm. I'm 70%. I'm going to give you what I got. Mm-hmm. but I'm 70, I'm struggling. You know what I mean? We don't always got to lay out the couch and get into your childhood and do all those other type of things. Sometimes it's just saying, yo, I'm going through some things.
Yes.
And I barely made it here. But you made it here. Now we get to work on this type of thing. That's for me. We talk about here all the time, 51%. And we tell our team that, you know, in order for you to be here, you got to be 51%. We don't have an expectation that you're 100% every day. That's not realistic. It's not practical. It's not prudent. None of that. But what we expect is that you're on this side of the effort. And 51% represents I'm on this side of the effort. I may not be having a great day, but I'm trying to. And if you're not at 51%, we treat it just like COVID or anything else. Go home. You're not helping us by being here. Go home, get healthy, come back. If there's anything we could do to support that, we would love to. But go home, get better, come back. That's our kind of mantra, 51%. And it's just about taking a step. It's about being on this side of trying to get better, being on this side of trying to get healthy. Nobody's just going to be there. And the better we do a job of allowing people to come in and just communicate where they're at, the better we can support them. Why would we all be out here guessing what each other needs?
They say the Navy SEALs' biggest asset is vulnerability.
Yes.
Because if they're not vulnerable, the other person can't have their back and they'll get killed, right?
I don't know what to do.
So that really shook me when I read that about, I like to have a wall up. I like to be strong. I used to probably before my children, I felt like I had to be a fit chick, right? I owned a gym. I needed to be strong. I didn't feel
Should be Insta ready. Yeah. Insta ready every time.
Yeah.
I thought people would look down on me and say, oh yeah, she's not really fit. Why would I want to come there? When really it's when I did have my kids and I was vulnerable and literally would say, I don't want to be with my kids right now. Like, I don't know what to do with them. My world is rocked. That then my trainers could be like, don't apologize.
Something that
be here and give me a hug and just say, you know, you're not alone in this. But if I would have just said, I'm fine, it's great, everything's fantastic. And then people think I'm a robot. And nobody wants to come to a gym with a robot. People want to see, I always say this, people want to hear how, you know, I do battle with eating. I do battle the swinging pendulum of mom and business owner. And people want to hear that because it's real shit.
Real.
Then people can be like, oh gosh, I feel like that too.
Yes.
You know?
And they want to see an example and they get to let go. How many times have you been around somebody where you showed vulnerability and that person exhaled? Because they just knew they were in a place where they could be vulnerable because they saw it be example. That's leadership. Yep. Leaders go first.
Yeah.
Leaders go first.
Leaders go first, leaders eat last.
Yeah, I mean, really, you know, that's one of those things. And being willing to say, I'm going to be vulnerable for you. So, you know, the way I think of it is you know, it's the standoff and it's the first person to put their gun down.
Yeah.
It takes courage. It takes a lot of trust, but it's like, and then the other person can do the same at that point. And I think when you have the courage to do that, the willingness to do that is really when you get into leadership. And I think to circle it all back around, it's like, where does one get the confidence to be able to do that? And I think it's in, you know, your mentality. I think it's in your nutrition. And then obviously, again, it's what you're doing with your body and how you're feeling good in that space. How's all of that represented right now? Where are we at right now? What are we looking into the future for you all? Like, where are we at right now? What's the dream? And I mean, go big with it.
It's funny, we just did this because we said that as you age, I watch my boys and they're just, the sky's the limit. And they dream and they play and they're in imagination land. And when did that stop for us?
Yeah.
And I had an epiphany. So I started writing my dreams and they were all business related. I'm like, that's not a dream. That's fun. That's part of it. But who's inside? What does Annie want to dream about and go? And my passion has always been, since we put our flag here, is make Sioux Falls the healthiest city per capita. Just like you said, the gym is what we do.
That's our lab.
It's not who we are.
Yeah.
And who we are is to help empower not only ourselves, my children, but the future of Sioux Falls, and create this community where we're all coming together and being the healthiest mentally, physically, emotionally that we possibly can. So I think the future in that is we're starting to see some outdoor parks that we're going to be involved in. We want to create some like healthy menu options for people that are eating out. We're going to continue doing the Coach for Life system. We want to get basically a lab. So a huge facility where we can be a one-stop shop and have mobility and nerd out and make it our lab and have people come and just try it.
One of my good friends and role model is Vance Thompson. So I said, Vance, I want the CPM version of VTV in Sioux Falls. I want this state-of-the-art standalone building. And it's got the hot cold therapy, it's got the gym, it's got the rehab, it's got all the wellness pieces. The boxes are checked. You know what I mean?
We got Think 3D helping people mentally. All
you know
of
what
it.
I mean?
Same thing for us. We'll actually Think 3D Labs, learning and behavioral studies. And saying, like, how do we really, again, get nerdy about how we live with each other, how we love on each other, how we work with each other, and all those other type of things. And no one can make me believe, like, it's this community in particular can't do this, that it's not possible to have people collectively say, we're going to be better for each other. There might be different methodologies and different modalities about how people go about doing that thing, but we are all focused on this goal of having the highest quality of life possible, and that excites me so much.
And I think when you're chasing your dream, you encourage other people to chase their dreams, and it's contagious in the good way too. Sure. It's so contagious in the good way.
Sure. All my friends, you all especially, all my friends get after it. You know what I mean? Like I need to be around that energy.
Engine, not anchors.
You know what I'm saying?
And success begets success, you know. It all stirs the pot in the right way.
They talk about rooms, and we're hitting our 22 plus year room of being in the gym business. And I want to get to the 50-year-old room. What are those guys like? What are those women like? You know, what have they been through?
Let's go.
I love Eric Thomas, and he just said, I am where I am today because of the work that I've done so far. And I'm looking forward to the 10-year. Who am I going to meet? Who am I going to be? I'm looking forward to what I'm going to say to them. And that's really how I feel, you know. What are we speaking now is going to really reflect like 10 years from now, 20 years from now. And you can do, it takes a village, but it also can be you, one foot in front of the other, back to basics, like you said.
100%. I love it. I appreciate y'all, man.
Thank you, Vaney.
It's a great conversation. We're going to do this more often. We talked about just different things we want to do in the world and the way that you all think about this holistically, and not holistically just in your space, but holistically in the human experience in a person's life, I think is the future. I think it's the now. I think it's just the way that people have to think about it. And I'm so excited to have you guys on the forefront of that and all of the cool things that are going to happen. And I know it's just going to be amazing things. And so tell people where they can find out more about you or where they can get with you.
We're big on Facebook, so CPMFITness.
Okay.
And then Instagram. And then Annie and I have our podcast too.
Yes.
And it's under CPMFITness, but it's also called Marriage Fit is the title of it too. Okay. But that's on like the Spotify and the Apple Podcast.
And
we'll get a link to that.
Yeah, it's about being married as the commitment piece, not marriage as in a unity.
It's just a coincidence that we're married. But the definition of marriage is the ultimate form of commitment. And we call it the 5 F's: fun, fitness, finances, faith, and family.
Those are yeah, you got to get into that, y'all. So make sure you all check that out. We'll get a link in there so people can find their way to that. I appreciate you.
We appreciate you, sir.
Coming to hang with us. As for everyone else, make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit that notification button so you can get more access to these. Make sure somebody else gets a chance to be introduced to these lovely people. And until next time, appreciate you.